Post-game Jets feel week 2. Let's get into it. All right, I don't mean to be Mr. Negative, but that was a bit of an ass kicking, and it reminded us a little bit too much of recent years, I think. Let's hope that's not a sign for the rest of the season, but that was a tough game to get through. I took some notes for the first half, and by the second half, I was just numb. It looked too much like recent years. Passing game was ineffective. Penalties were everywhere. Every time it looked like we had to stop, we shot ourselves in the foot. Yeah, not much to say. This is going to be a short one today. Let's go through my quick notes. Michael Clemens, it reminds me a lot of Xavier Gibson, where we have a fun memory of them. Michael Clemens, his first year or his second year for training camp, he came in with the bat with barbed wire around it or something, because he is a tough guy, and he's always getting into fights though, and he's always getting these penalties, and the only time we hear his name is getting a penalty. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut this week. Similar to Xavier Gibson, we had a good memory when he scored the touchdown against the Bills, but he was living off that. I think Michael Clemens has been living off that draft status and potential for a while, and it's time to go. Hopefully we have some other players that can fit in on defensive line, because he's killed multiple games now that I can recall. Not saying we would have won that game today, but that at least sets us up in a much different position if we make that stop there. So, outside of that, there was nobody that stood out today on either side. Nobody that stood out. We didn't hear Quinnen Williams' name. We barely heard Jamie Sherwood's name until late in the second half. Sauce had an all right day from what we can tell. Stevens didn't get burned as much as he did last week. Tony Adams has no business being on the field. I'm sorry that he got hurt, but I wrote that note beforehand. But Tony Adams has no business being a starter on this defense. We need to get Malachi Moore, or Malachi, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Draftee from Alabama. We need to get him up to speed, because he's especially with Cisco hurt now, we're thin at the position. So overall, the offense, I don't even know what to say. At least Arian Smith showed a few catches today. His worries coming out of college were drops. So the fact that he had some good catches and some good plays overall gives us some promise for the future. The play design was all right on offense. They got the receivers open. The problem was, a couple times it seemed like they tried to scheme big plays early in the game instead of just getting the ball to their playmakers like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, letting them make big plays. Trying to scheme a big play. I remember one was a big reverse handoff in the backfield. We lost like 10 yards on it and killed the drive. So it was that kind of day. It looked like nothing we did worked. It was tough. And not only that, but we were playing the Bills. The Bills are a Super Bowl contender. They have an MVP quarterback in his prime. You can't make mistakes against a team like that. You can't have your B game against a team like that and hope to win, especially when you are still rebuilding the talent on this roster. So there's a gulf of talent, and they need to you need to have a perfect day against the Bills, or a team like the Bills. So that's what happens when you have a bad day, when your quarterback has a bad day. When all the promise we saw last week, this week it looked like it was out the window. Again, it was the Bills, though, so I'm really hoping that we can wipe this game off the slate. Let's start next week anew, even though we're 0-2. Start next week anew. I don't even know who we play. I haven't looked that far ahead, because this has been, after last week's hope, I really said, okay, maybe the Bills are, prime for an upset. And the life of a Jets fan, and if you're watching this, you're probably familiar. So hope everyone has some positive events go on this week and can cheer up before next Sunday. I'll do the same myself. I'll be watching my Ducks. They'll be playing Oregon State, I believe. So it'll be the Battle of Oregon, the Civil War as they used to call it. I don't know if that's still the name. Either way, doesn't matter. Let's go Jets. Let's hope they turn this around. I still believe in Aaron Glenn, but this was a tough one today. This was a tough one.